You! The clown shrieked in high-pitched English. As it did, there was a huge racket as the front porch came apart like a tornado struck it. But instead of falling, the bits combined in mid-air, forming a wall leading to the porch roof. Beyond the porch wreckage wall, I could hear Narancha screaming, "George! What are you doing? Run!" I was too surprised by the clown to react in time, and the walls were already closed around me. Locked in here, in the dark, face to face with a clown. Narancha started trying to break down the walls imprisoning me, and I gave it a kick or two, and tried ripping bits of wood off with my hands, but I didn't get anywhere. In fact, I could no longer reach the walls. Before I knew it, a rope made of the same wood bits as the walls had dropped down from the ceiling, wrapped itself round my neck, pulled tight, and was pulling at me, trying to drag me off the floor and strangle me. The clown laughed. "If you're not Penelope's friend, you have to hang yourself." Penelope? A girl's name? A clown? A locked room? The noose on my neck pulled me high enough off the ground my feet wouldn't reach the floor, and was getting very tight round my throat, but those two keywords jogged my memory. "Stop! I'm not the locked room, maestro!" I yelled. The clown took a close look at my face. "Thought so. Javier Cortez is dead!" The Spanish police on La Palma beat him to death with their nightsticks and sank his body into the sea at night. It was like the soul left the clown's body. His whole body went stiff, then began to spin fast and fast until it exploded, and the walls around me and the rope on my neck went with it. The floor of the porch collapsed. As I sat there coughing, I heard footsteps come running. The front door was flung open, and a Latin beauty came out. "George!" she said, looking around, and without thinking I said, "Here!" But when her gaze found me, she looked very perplexed. "Nice to meet you," I said. "My name's Jorge Joestar." "Don't be ridiculous," she said, fixing me with a furious glare. She was clearly looking for the other George, Sukamajuku's friend. "I'm not, I swear. Penelope, right?" She'd been the one controlling that clown then. I took my wallet out of my back pocket, pulled out a business card and handed it to her. My name was written on it, and not using the spelling on my passport or other official documents. Jorge Joestar, detective. "What do you mean, detective? Are you a cop?" "I'm a private detective," I said. "The kind that inevitably ends up solving the mystery." What are you talking about?" "Have you not read Sherlock Holmes? Was this the real England? Had Conan Doyle not made the place up after all?" "Oh, but what? You're a Chinaman, aren't you?" "Japanese, but I'm an English citizen." "Japan? Oh, are you friends with Sukamajuku then?" At the mention of his name, every cell in my body shivered. I knew it. There was the world Sukamajuku had come from, and after Sukamajuku had left, something very strange had happened on this island. "I am," I said. "By the way, what in the hell is happening here? I mean, are you okay? Are you the only one here? Alive, I mean." As I was asking, Narancha yelled over me, "Hey, George! Who is she?" in Italian, and Penelope's attitude changed dramatically. "I'm the only one here. I've no idea what's happening. You need not concern yourself with me. Please leave." And with that, she tried to shut the door. Clearly, she didn't want to invite strangers in, but from behind her came a gentle voice. "Penelope." A woman stepped into view, and the moment I saw her, it felt as if the air around me had grown thin, and yet a strange warmth swept over me at the same time. Physics suggested if the air pressure dropped, so would the temperature, and yet... Wait, that was irrelevant. Anyway, this woman was about 40 years old, beautiful, and possessed of the sort of sincerity that ensured you'd feel horribly guilty if you ever betrayed or tricked her. A sort of solemnity that instantly stressed me out, but at the same time made you feel that if she was handling things, everything would work out just fine in the end. "Erina," Penelope said. "Let me greet our guests at least," Erina replied. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Erina Joestar. You're Jorge Joestar?" She was just standing in front of me, but her class and elegance had me breathless. I took far too long to answer. Yes." "You seem awfully young. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?" 16. "Would you perhaps be Japanese?" Yes. Sorry I keep stammering. I'm not usually this nervous meeting people." "That's quite all right. Please be at ease." "No, even your gentle truckles are bowling me over here. No way I can relax." Behind me, Narancha was growing irritated. "Dude, Stop fucking round! You learn anything from him yet? God, he was rude. I went bright red. Your companion's certainly a lively one, Erina said, glancing over my shoulder. Who the fuck is this granny? It's fuck dangerous round here. You bringing her with us or not? Make up your fucking mind. God damn it, Narancia, shut up, I yelled, reeling around. And there were 3 zombies running up behind him that he hadn't noticed. Look out, I began, but before I got the words out, snap, 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 3 phone booth-sized boxes popped up and swallowed the zombie. These boxes were made from the dirt and grass in the yard, just like the locked room that had swallowed me was made from the front porch. I caught Penelope's eye, and she just sniffed huffily. Scary, but a little bit cute. These grounds are completely safe, but those things do keep trying. By those things she must mean the zombies, but just what was happening inside those boxes? Was a clown appearing inside each of them to hang the zombies? I glanced round, and there were several other booths dotted round the garden, some fully intact, others crumbling, with holes in them, or only the bottom of the walls remaining. Through the holes I could see what lay inside, and there was a zombie hanging from a noose, but there was nothing below the zombie's neck. Penelope saw me looking and said, They struggle after being hung, so they rip their own heads off. No sooner were the words out of her mouth than 3 splats came from the new booths. Yikes! Narancia yelped. See? But I prefer Erina didn't see that sort of thing. Would you please go now? Such weird clothes. I looked back at Erina. Excuse me, how did you know I was Japanese? I've been running a trading company for some time now. I've done business with Japanese people in the past, based on the inflections in your English and perhaps your facial features. You have a soft smile that's very particular to Japanese culture. I do? I mean, I guess people do say I look like an idiot. She chuckled. And I knew a boy about your age. I believe he called himself a detective as well. Yeah, I assume you mean Tsukumajuku? Yes, he was friends with my son, perhaps his only friend at the time, so they were always together in middle school. We lived in the Canary Islands then, but that boy had to return to Japan quite suddenly, and my son was already quite upset by that when we learned that his ship had capsized. We kept the news from him for a while, but if you know Tsukumajuku, then did he not die at all? Well, not in the ship crash. No. Where are you from? How should I answer that? From Moyo? From Mars? Tsukumajuku had family in Japanese Fuku Prefecture in a small town called Nishiakatsuki. I lived there too. It's quite far away, but I met Tsukumajuku there, and quite a lot happened, and now I'm here. Really, a lot had happened. Quite a lot? Erina echoed. Perhaps she picked up on the scale of things, though I doubted she could have known the full measure. Yeah. But you did not arrive here by ordinary means. No, we didn't. I'm sorry I forgot to ask, but how is it that the dead come to walk around attacking the living? We still don't know the reason, but I suppose that's for me and you and your friends to figure out. Jorge Joestar, do you believe in destiny? Erina asked, looking me right in the eye. Yes, I said, unable to suppress a smile at what I was about to say. I not only believe in destiny, I make a living from doing so. Anyone calling themselves a detective did. Erina gave me that lovely laugh of hers again. Well said, Jorge Joestar from very far away. I'm glad we met. Yeah. Sorry, I'm... Ugh. Excuse me, Penelope said. Yes? I asked. Where are you going and what are you going to do there? Huh? Well, apparently this is England, so we're talking about going to London. What for? I'm not really sure, but we're looking for Desolation Row. Kinda seems like anyone still living will have fled London too. Desolation Row? Yes. Why are you looking for that? Why worry? I wasn't sure. Maybe just the narrative flow led us to it. I laughed at the idea. We were finding Poochie's metaphors one after another and using them to guide us. I couldn't offer any other explanation for our situation, and I couldn't help but laugh at that. We're looking for the way to heaven. The way to heaven? Erina said. I was surprised by her surprise. I wondered if this mess with all the zombies made that line sound like suicide. No, I'm sure it's nothing all that serious, I said, trying to cover. Well, I know this is coming out of the blue, Penelope said, but can I come with you? You come from far away, right? I can protect you, I'm sure. Erina, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I go? My clowns will still protect the manor even if I'm gone, and I'll come back as fast as I can. Huh? But zombies weren't that big a threat. We didn't really need a girl to come protect us, I thought. But then rethought it. Perhaps this was another important narrative being introduced. But Eleanor looked dubious. You're a girl, after all. But Lisa, Elizabeth is already... Penelope suddenly sounded like she was about to cry. I do hate to put it like this, Eleanor, but if I stay where it's safe just because I'm a girl and it's scary and dangerous, then I feel like I'll just wind up left behind by all the boys. Elizabeth puts herself in danger and nearly dies, but in the end she got to be with George when it really mattered. She was happy. I know it. This seemed to strike a nerve with Eleanor, and she thought hard on it. Penelope turned to me. I know it's a sudden request, but take me with you. I promise I won't get in the way. It's dangerous? You probably shouldn't. I know it's dangerous. But... Please! And this whole mess is, in a large part, my fault, so I'd like to see if there's anything I can do about it. Her fault? You made the zombies? I wouldn't do that, but I did turn the entire island of Great Britain into a locked room. Huh? The sheer scale of that statement left me at a loss for words, but at the same time, then she was definitely the cause of this state of affairs, I thought. Then I guess you have a right to be involved. But holy hell, how big was this locked room? Even so, I'd really advise against it, I added. I'm travelling with some pretty weird people. But you're with them too? Don't worry, I can look after myself. The ultimate thing ignored basically everything that passed for common sense with humans, though. I just can't agree, Penelope, Eleanor said. It's too risky. Penelope wasn't having it. I'm going, Eleanor. Thank you for everything. I was very happy, but I can't take it anymore. With George gone, there's something dark and hot and heavy churning around inside my chest and stomach and down below, chewing away at me from the inside. If I don't hang every last zombie in England, that churn's going to eat me alive. Penelope. So please, I won't demand your approval, but at the least, don't stop me. But I promise I'm coming back alive. At the very least, I'll bring Elizabeth back with me. I'm not about to be the only one sitting around biding my time. Ha ha ha. Even her laugh was choked with tears. Eleanor put her arms around Penelope and drew her close. Then go, Penelope. Just be sure you come back. I can't lose any more family. I'll come back safe and sound. Sorry this means you'll have to look after Joseph all by yourself. I know. Joseph will be fine. Straits and the others come to check on us from time to time. And like that, we'd gained a new companion, but... Joseph Joestar? Both women turned and stared at me as one. I had them show me baby Joseph Joestar. There was a baby carriage in the room just off the entrance hall, and he was sleeping inside. His father was George, and his mother was Lisa/Elizabeth Straits. So he might be a Joseph Joestar, but not the same one who was my adopted great-grandfather. That Joseph Joestar's father was Jojo, and his mother was Maria Uriah Sapelli. But I felt like there was some resemblance, something inherently rascally to him, even as a baby. But most likely, this baby would become the man who went up against the ultimate cause this time and sent him to the ends of space. He was a newborn and already a badass. I grinned at the thought, but I had other fish to fry.
So this is Joseph as a baby. You can already see it in his face,
Carr said, leaning in beside me. His wounds were totally healed. I froze to the spot, my mind utterly blank. Eleanor and Penelope both threw themselves between the half-naked man and the baby, protectively.
Fear not, I do not make a habit of killing children, and because this man sent me to me every time I am here before you. Besides, if I harmed him, who knows how history would be altered. Come, let us return to the place and time from whence we came, Jorge Joestar,
Carr said, and walked away. I was so relieved. My knees were rattling. What was that? What is he? Penelope said, tears in her eyes. I never saw him come in. That's one of my travelling companions, I said. You sure you're up for travelling with a half-naked mystery man? I definitely thought she wouldn't, but Penelope swallowed once, loudly, and said, I'll be fine. She paused, then added, But he's very scary. Don't worry, I said. I'm scared of him too. Then I took Penelope Della Rosa back to Dos Boot. Narancia was hanging out inside, looking bored, and when he saw us, he yelled, "Yo, what the fuck? Picked up a girl? Here, now? Are you completely stupid? Are you fucked in the head?" He cackled wildly, but I ignored him. Cars and Poochie were waiting inside too, so I introduced Penelope to them and explained that she was joining us on our trip to London, but neither of them seemed particularly interested. Poochie simply glanced at her face once and went back to whatever he was thinking about, so I let it be. "Okay, motherfuckers, let's go!" Narancia yelled, but I was the only one who yelled, "Yeah, let's go!" back. "So aren't you companions? Why's the mood so tense?" Penelope asked. Right, I'd better fill her in. "Penelope, you met him a moment ago, but this is Cars. He's the ultimate living being, and the gentleman in the spacesuit is the astronaut, Enrico Pucci." "Nice to meet you," Penelope said, but neither reacted. "This is a little uncomfortable," she whispered, but there wasn't much I could do to change that. But when Penelope explained what was happening here in England, Pucci's expression changed dramatically. Penelope told us of Jorge Joestar's life, of the 15 locked room mysteries created by the locked room maestro, Javier Cortez. She told us about her power to turn any material into a locked room, manifest the clown within to hang anyone trapped inside and make it look like a suicide. "Jorge Joestar called powers like this wounds. Their abilities born of pain inflicted over and over again." I remembered what Cars had said about the bow and arrow he'd made.
In theory, to protect their own lives from the fatal wound, their talents would blossom, the energy would heal the wounds, and they would discover special abilities previously hidden within them.
A wound, being damaged, could give you powers beyond what others had. What did it mean to recover, to heal? As the body attempted to heal itself, it must want to avoid suffering the same injury again, and provide a tool to protect itself. In that sense, both stands and wounds were a manifestation of inner emotions given form. Thinking about this and listening to Penelope, she got to the mass suicide in the church on the Palmer, the pictures of the Mothman drawn while on fire. "It took 10 years for George to find out," Penelope said. "But when humans are imagining something out of anxiety or fear, what they imagine remains behind, collects, haunts, and can even take on concrete form. That's how there can be a spider with gorilla legs lurking in the darkness underground, how people can die painting pictures of the Mothman on land, and why gremlins appear in the air." Gremlins? Like Mogwai and them? The Joe Dante movie Spielberg produced? Come to think of it, there was a scene where a character's grumbling about having to send foreign-made goods off to be repaired all the time because gremlins live inside and cause trouble. "Airplanes are very new and changing rapidly, so there's a lot of trial and error, and people get anxious, which gave rise to the gremlins," Penelope explained. I was nodding as she spoke, but my understanding was quickly turned on its head. The zombie that had played Jorge Joestar as a child, Antonio Torres. "Antonio had a rune that allowed him to shed his entire skin once a year. He'd followed George to England and was attacking airplane pilots. This was the start of the stories about gremlins." And at last her story took us to recent events from a month before. "A commander in the Air Force where George served was actually possessed by Antonio Torres. When George found out, he was killed." Penelope was silent for a moment before continuing. "I went to the commander's house with Elizabeth. It was here in Wastewood. I saw Elizabeth kill that commander. Antonio Torres was inside his body, and Elizabeth, she was beyond furious. I could tell it was all she could do to keep herself from going mad. She's normally so calm and quick-witted, but she said only one thing: 'I'm going to kill every last one of you.' But I don't think there's any way she can do that. Before she killed Antonio Torres, he said, 'Just go ahead and try. There's 920,000 of me.' And that same day, 920,000 Antonios surrounded Great Britain, and I accidentally made a giant locked room out of his bodies." Penelope trailed off, dejected. Cars had been listening with a massive grin on his face.
"The attempted invasion of England in 1915. He began. "A few dozen units to attack the Hamon warriors, a few hundred to bombard London, but of those few hundred, the pilots themselves were zombies, and the sun wasn't out, so there was no need for Antonio Torres' power. In which case, we can assume no more than 1,000 Antonios at most were used up in the war. If Antonio Torres became a zombie in 1900, and each Antonio shed a skin once a year, that's 14 sheds by 1915, or 2 to the power of 14. So, there should have been exactly 60,384 Antonios. Assuming 1,000 perished, that leaves us 15,384. Then 5 more years passed until 1920, and each of the previous 15 years of Antonios increased by 2 to the power of 6, leaving us with 984,576. In 20 years, Antonio increased himself to nearly 1,000,000, but according to Penelope de la Rosa, her wall was made from 920,000. So what happened to the 60,000 Antonios did not die in the war or get turned into a wall?
Penelope had no answer. Cars chuckled.
What? Never thought to count the zombies before? If there were 60,000 zombies out there, they can turn 10 times that many humans into zombies. I don't mean one can take on 10 men, one can take on 2. But if one has to go after 10 men, then if it manages to turn the first 2, that's 3 against 7. And a moment later, all 10 are zombies. Even if humans manage to win with their 10-to-1 odds. 7 versus 70 leads to all-out panic. And if they have 70 zombies, a town of 1,000 humans is wiped out. Ignoring the existence of 60,000 zombies is rather foolish.
Right. From what I'd heard, the zombies here were nothing like the living dead created by Jorge Romero. Rest in peace. They could think, and they retained skills and knowledge they'd had in life. A former pilot could still fly a plane, and they could even learn to fly one after becoming a zombie. Even a trained fighting force would be thrown into a panic if zombies appeared amongst them. At least 60,000? Trying to pitch that nightmare in any concrete terms made me dizzy. Antonio Torres was just a flat skin, so if you folded him up and put him away, maybe he wouldn't spread out that much. But that was just my imagination running away from it. This was a zombie that could fly under his own power, and knew how to fly a plane too. If he tried doing anything to humanity, he'd be a fearsome enemy. This reminded me of the news Sciabana had given me as we fell to earth in the Jotos, of patients in Sardinia attacking people. I'd remembered far too late in all the commotion, but it sure sounded like zombies had shown up in modern Japan and Italy as well. But that was 2012, not here, and in modern times a few dozen times through the birth and death of the universe. What connection could there be between the zombie outbreak here and the news of zombies in our own time? Was a massive zombie outbreak just something that happened at least once in every history? It wasn't out of the question. Our universe had produced cars, the ultimate thing, every time, blown him out into space and gathered him on the dark side of Mars. I'd gone my whole life without knowing the food chain had cars and the other pillar men at the top, vampires below them and zombies below that. They'd always been there. Of course, there were not many zombies who could fly. Zombies were humans to begin with, and there were almost no humans who could fly. Sciabana had also said, I suppose the key difference from the movies is that there are rumours of flying zombies. If flying zombies existed, did that mean our time also had an Antonio Torres?